All right, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the regular scheduled Tabor Town Council meeting for October 12th, 2021. Call the meeting to order and ask for the adoption of the agenda as presented, please. Councilor Garner?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I can make the motion that council adopts the agenda as shown.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item number 3, adoption of the minutes. Item 3.1, minutes of the regular meeting of council September 27th, 2021. Mr. Tebow.
The minutes, as per usual, are just here for your consideration.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Seeing none, someone prepared to make that motion? Councilor Garner?
I can make that motion, Mr. Mayor, that council adopts the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on September 27th, 2021 as presented.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 4, business arising from the minutes. Item 4.1, fireman's bond spill. Mr. Tebow.
So there was a resolution put forward at the last council meeting that administration wanted to come back just to have some clarity around, some further discussion perhaps on rescinding the previous motion and speaking to the motion that was put in front of you. There was some confusion around monies being available in the 2021 budget last time around. There is actually money available in the 2021 budget. If anyone had any questions to confirm, Mr. Orwa could speak to that.
All right, thank you. Mr. Orwa, can you concur with that?
Sorry, just a matter of clarification. The way motion read, it referred to 2022, but the intention was to utilize part of the grant for 2021. And money, there is about 13,000 still left in the 2021. So we're just requesting that we rescind the old motion to adopt the new one to let them utilize that money in the current year.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Councilor Bruin.
Mr. Mayor, if you so wish, I will rescind the motion that I made and make a new one.
All right, Councilor Bruin, you just have to clarify what that motion was.
The one that to rescind the motion moved by Councilor Bruin, that council thanks the Tabor Firefighters Association and the Tabor Curling Club representatives for their presentation and supports the Tabor Firefighters Association with a $5,000 financial grant from the 2020 Communication Grant Program to be used towards hosting the 62nd Annual AFF-CA Provincial Firefighters Curling Championship in January 2022.
All right, thank you. Just to clarify, Councilor Bruin, you're wishing to rescind that particular motion, which is your motion.
Wish to rescind that motion. I can.
All right, thank you. All right. And prepare to make a second motion.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Additional motion.
Mr. Mayor.
Sorry, Councilor, sorry, one second, Councilor. Sorry, Councilor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It would be proper for the council to vote on that rescindment on the motion first, please.
Just a clarification.
Council Rule cannot rescind a motion. Just making a motion to rescind, council to vote on it, Mr. Mayor.
All right, just to clarify, I'm trying to remember, I think we have done that once before, Councilor Beckering, I think. One time, right? Did I recall? Is that that's completely accurate? All right, just ask for a motion to go with the rescinding of that original motion as per Councilor Bruin's request. And thank you, Councilor Beckering, for that input as well. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, Councilor Bruin, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council thanks Tabor Firefighters Association for the Tabor Curling Club representatives for their presentation and supports the Tabor Firefighters Association with a $5,000 financial grant from the 2021 Community Grant Program to be used towards hosting the 62nd Annual AFF-CA Provincial Firefighters Curling Championship in January 2022.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item 5, bylaws. There are no bylaws. Item 6, action items. Item 6.1, 2022 operating budget. Mr. Tebow.
Again, we'll get Mr. Orwa to speak on his most favorite topic, the budget, for your folks' consideration.
All right, thank you, Mr. Roa.
Thank you, His Worship and members of council. So before you is the 2022 balanced operating budget. As you remember, this has been going on for the last few months since the departmental heads presented their budget before you. So I would just like to quickly highlight some of the discussions that has taken place in the past that is included in this particular budget. Now, first of all, as you can see, what you have before you, the council discretionary fund has been left as is, no change. Then the utility revenue fee model that we've been using has been left as is for now. There's no increase at all. Again, this 2022 budget has also provided for a 2% increase in tax revenue. But I would just like to make a point there that this will not automatically translate into a 2% mill rate increase because, as you know, the mill rates are dependent on our actual assessed values, which of course we don't know at this point in the future. Again, one of the highlights there is the overall deficit, as earlier discussed, has been offset by the stabilization fund. And again, His Worship, there's just one area that I would like to highlight, and if you can just scroll for me the second attachment. The first one is the summary of the budget, and then the second part of it is the 3-year rolling budget. So if you just scroll it down to look at it, down a little bit, sorry, up. Now from the top there, as per the MGA, we have to balance the current year, which is 2022, and have a focused planning for the next 3 years. And one of the reasons why this is very significant is because the government is encouraging municipalities to have what they call in the long-range financial planning. So if you scroll to the bottom, now you can see in the next 3 years, that is how it will look like with all those deficits. So what maybe council should have in mind as per direction from MGA is how are we going to offset some of those deficits in the future? It's just like to start planning ahead of time. Are you going to increase utilities? Are you going to increase mill rates? Are you going to introduce infrastructure fees? Anything like that to help us offset some of those deficits. So those are just what the government has put there just for planning purposes. But we have to balance the current year, and it's the current year only that has been balanced, which is 2022. That is the budget that we have before you today.
All right, thank you, Mr. Roa. Any questions arising? Councillor Bickering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. To Mr. Orwa, this magic stabilization fund, how much money is in there?
The stabilization fund, we've been putting about 1.2 million, which has been rolling, and it's only utilized only when necessary, and we've never utilized it before. So each time, in order to stabilize the budget, we try to bring it forward to help us stabilize the budget to avoid increase in mill rates. So right now, we do have 1.2 million, which is set for that stabilization fund.
All right, thank you. Councillor Bruin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To Mr. Orwell, how much do we contribute to that fund every year?
No, we don't contribute anything to that fund. It is just something that we had set aside. If you recall, from 2017 to 2018, we had set aside that fund to help us stabilize the budget with this 3-year rolling budget. And we only bring it forward when necessary to offset the deficit.
Okay, so
But in the actual sense, it's never been utilized.
so we never do contribute to it.
No, we don't.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Bickering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, my question again is, Mr. Orwa, this magic fund, we've never contributed to it. How did it get there, and how much is in it?
So I would not call it the magic fund, but I would call it stabilization fund. So it is part of the reserve money, but it's been set aside, but nothing is being contributed into that fund. So when you're looking at the overall reserves, we try to identify that 1.2 on the side to help stabilize as we move along. But we don't utilize, but it's just money sitting as part of the reserves.
All right, thank you. Any other questions arising? All right. Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Bruin.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion that council approves the 2022 proposed operating budget as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Councillor Strauss.
Yes, Your Worship, I'll make the motion that council endorses the 2023 to 2025 three-year rolling budget as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Councillor Firth, did you have a question also? Or, okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, thank you, Mr. Roy. On to item 6.2, easement requests for 521049 Avenue. Mr. Tebow.
Administration is asking Katie Schlapp to come and present.
Good afternoon, Your Worship and Council.
Good afternoon, Katie.
Administration has received a request for an easement over a property the town owns in the downtown, 5210 49th Avenue. The requesting property is 5214 49th Avenue. They are east of our property. The owners of the property have been developing it for several years now. The downstairs is a commercial site, and the upstairs they are making into a residential site. Building code requires that the building meets specific fire separation distances or has a fire sprinkler. The fire sprinkler has proven to be cost prohibitive for them, so they're requesting an easement of 1.2 meters over our parking lot for the emergency services building in order to ensure no buildings are built within 1.2 meters of their building. This would allow them to continue to work towards gaining occupancy without needing to install a sprinkler system. This project has been ongoing since 2017, so in discussions with our building inspector, administration feels this is the best solution to bring this project to a close. We did bring this matter forward to the Municipal Planning Commission at the September 20th meeting, where they did recommend that we bring it to council for endorsement. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Councillor Bruin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This doesn't affect the daily use of the parking lot as it is.
No, it can continue to be a parking lot. It just prevents you from building within that area. So in the future, if we would like to develop the site, we would have to be set back 1.2 meters from the property line on the east side. Given the lack of parking in the downtown, most likely we would want to ensure that there is parking on the site. So we don't foresee this as an issue because it could continue to be parking in that area.
Okay, and they won't be able to use it for storage or anything, that easement?
No.
Still public property?
Absolutely. It just grants them, it reduces our ability to build, and then it allows them to essentially exit their building through a window should the need arise.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Beckering?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Schlamp, this building, that's the old Boyle building, is that correct?
I am not familiar. Sorry. It, I
believe
don't
that
believe
is the
there's
one,
any
yes.
signage on it to really give you an identifying feature. I don't go back that far.
So it's to the east of the parking lot, of the emergency service parking lot, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, that's the old Boyle building. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Strauss?
Your Worship, I think I'm ready to make a motion that council authorize the mayor and the CEO to endorse the easement agreement regarding 5210 49th Avenue, Lot 7, Block 10, Plan 5638L.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item 6.3, Tabor Christian School Laneway Drainage Improvement. Mr. Tebow.
We're going to have Mr. Raman Lahiji come and provide a presentation. I believe this was also in front of the MPC at one point.
All right, thank you, Mr. Luigi.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council.
Good afternoon.
This is regarding the Laneway drainage improvement to Tabor Christian School. And council accept the proposed solution for the drainage concern to east alley of the Tabor Christian School and directs the administration to add it to the 2022 capital budget. The background on it, at the September 20th, 2021 meeting of Municipal Planning Commission, the attached drainage plan was presented as a proposed solution for drainage concern regarding the east alley by the Tabor Christian School. Information on the drainage for this area has been previously presented to the Municipal Planning Commission at the October 19, 2020 meeting. This request was presented to the Municipal Planning Commission on September 20th, 2021, and it was recommended that it be taken to council for consideration. Resolution 233-2021 moved by Mr. Stravos that the Municipal Planning Commission accept the proposed solution for the drainage concern for the east alley of Tabor Christian School as information and recommend that it be taken to council for consideration in 2022 capital budget. And it was carried unanimously. The proposed plan is being presented as a cost-effective means of the establishing the drainage in the area to mitigate the flooding of the adjacent properties, as the properties across the alley are lower than the adjacent alley. The drawing for the proposed solution is attached, and the estimated cost of this project will be about $30,000. Is there any question that I can answer?
All right, thank you. Any questions arising whatsoever? Councillor Bruin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just, reading this here, first came to Municipal Planning Commission in October 19th, 2020. That's over, well, just about a year ago now. And now we're finally came up with a solution. What was the holdback on that?
The holdback was a very difficult project. It's very flat. The area is very flat, and we had quite a few different, I had to bring in different parts of MPE to come and have a look at it. We looked at it. We GPSed this thing like 2-3 times to make sure everything works. It just took a long time to come up with a solution for it. A sensible solution, I should say.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions arising? Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to Mr. Lahiji. So what exactly is the proposed solution?
The proposed solution, we are going to build a ditch that goes around. It goes from the south side all the way to the west side around the school. And also, we're going to bring this east side of the portion that is lower up, raise it up. So the water properly drains to that ditch and then drains to it.
All right, thank you. Councillor Garner.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, at this time, I'm prepared to make a motion on this subject.
All right,
The council accepts the proposed solution for the drainage concerns to east alley of the Tabor Christian School and directs the administration to add it to the 2022 capital budget.
all right, thank you. And just to clarify for administration, are we in need of that figure to be in the motion, Mr. Thibault or Mr. Scheer?
I think it'd be good. It's not necessary. We're going to put in $30,000. We don't put numbers in. We've added to the capital budget, but as you're aware, it is $30,000.
That's what I'm saying. So that's just an ask. Is that needed in
Just an
the
ask, put it in
motion?
the budget, and we'll put in $30,000.
Okay, fair enough. Perfect, thank you. All right, motion on the table. Councillor Bruin.
Will we have a time frame when we'll start this? Will we start yet this fall?
This will be next year.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item 6.4, Operating Reserves Program. Mr. Thibault.
Administration's going to call forward Mr. Blake Hranek and potentially some go-to meeting folks on this one? On this one, okay.
All right, welcome.
Mr. Mayor, Council, this is pertaining to the Operating Reserves Program, which is a new initiative for the town. I put together a small presentation for you guys, just to give you some background on it. Should be in the council. Okay, I'll just put this down here. All right, the AESO Operating Reserves Program. Who is AESO? The Alberta Electric Systems Operator. They manage and operate the provincial power grid 24 hours a day. They're a not-for-profit organization with no financial investment in the industry. They basically oversee the whole power grid in Alberta. So what is the Operating Reserve Program? AESO relies on operating reserves. It's a network of resources that help balance the electrical supply and demand in real time to maintain the security and reliability of Alberta's grid. Program participants are basically on standby to deliver capacity by reducing the load on the grid within minutes of being notified. In return, they receive payments for being able to stabilize the grid during these critical periods. So what does this mean for Tabor? Tabor currently has 3 treatment facilities that are equipped with backup generators that can power the facilities in the event that there is a loss of power to the grid. Combined, these 3 backup generators can offload an estimated 550 kilowatts of power from the grid. Offload meaning removing the power consumption of our facilities from the grid. So during a call out from the AESO, Tabor would switch all 3 facility operations from grid supplied power to generator power. The average duration of these is about 17 minutes to an hour, and there's about 5 to 10 callouts per year from the AESO. So some details on this program. Tabor would be rolling into a 5-year program term. We would have the flexibility to opt out of the program on a daily basis. That can be daily, weekly, whatever. It provides us that flexibility for maintenance, facility upgrades, emergency situations, stuff like that. Our on-call schedule would be 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., peak demand time for every day of the year, but that's contingent on us opting in. We can opt out for a day, a week, or what have you. So basically, Tabor generates revenue by being on standby. So showing the revenue model here, it's based on 2020 pricing, but if we can provide the maximum capacity of 550 kilowatts, we'd be generating $24 an hour to be on standby. Over a year, that translates to about $140,000 in total revenue. Now with a partnership with NLX, they take 30%, we get 70%. That equates to about $100,000 a year that Tabor generates, and that's them cutting us a check. So over a 5-year term, it's just under $500,000, about $490,000. There are no financial penalties if we miss a call out, but if we repeatedly miss call outs, then we get removed from the program. So our partnership with NLX. NLX is a private energy company. They administer the contract with AESO. They're basically the link between Tabor and AESO. So as shown on the previous slide, it's a 70-30 split for revenue. NLX's corporate profile include most of the Alberta major hospitals, CNRL, various manufacturing plants in Alberta. So the next steps, if council is open to making a motion to proceed with this program, would be the RFD. We would have to consult with MPE Engineering for some minor SCADA upgrades with 2 of our treatment facilities. We would sign the demand response order form. NLX comes down, they have to install meters. Takes about a month's time to get everything up and running. And then we can enroll in the program 4th quarter this year or first quarter 2022. And just to give you guys a bit of background on the minor SCADA upgrades, basically our two wastewater generators right now aren't, we don't have remote access capabilities to switch them over. They have to be hand switched over at the plants. So these SCADA upgrades would allow our treatment facility operators the ability to switch over to generators from their laptop or in a remote setting. So not only does this help our treatment facilities guys with their operations, but it gives them that ability as well. So it's a win-win there. They benefit from that as well. So Gary had talked to MP Engineering. The upgrade costs are estimated at about $5,000, which would be paid through the 2022 operating budget. And one of the other key points there for us is that every call out that we have after hours requires manpower. It's overtime. So we calculated it out, even if every single call out, 10 total, were after regular operating shifts, that would equate to about $2,500 or 2.5% of the total revenue that we'd receive from that program. The other major point that we stressed with NLX is to provide an opt-out clause with Tabor. So say after the first year, we're getting called out more than we anticipated or the revenues aren't there, then Tabor will have that ability to opt out of this contract as well. So the recommendation to council is to direct administration to enroll in the AESO operating reserve program for a 5-year term.
All right,
So,
thank you.
Any questions?
Councillor Becker.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sir, I got your first name Blake and last name, please.
Horanik.
Pardon?
Horanik?
Moranik. And who do you work for?
I work for the town here.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I work for Tabor here. I was our engineering tech, and now I am in the municipal energy manager role.
Oh, thank you, thank you. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
Now, there must be a downside to this.
We've gone through it with a fine-tooth comb. We've had 4 meetings with them. Really isn't seeing a downside there. I mean, NLX is making some money off of our generators, but it seems to be at this point a win-win for Tabor. So, yeah.
So we should point out, Mr. Mayor, that we have to run these generators at least once a month anyway,
Yeah.
just to ensure that they work and everything, the electricity's there. So to me, it's a win-win. We're getting paid to do what we should do.
Yeah.
All right, nothing negative attached to anything you see so far. That's a good thing.
Yep, seems to be.
Perfect, thank you. Councillor Chavez.
Yes, Your Worship, to Blake here. Just a question here. Now, it says Tabor can officially enroll in the program in the 4th quarter of 2021, but then you mentioned the upgrades to the SCADA system wouldn't be done, would come out of the 2022 budget.
Yeah.
So so then you would turn them over manually in the interim period then? Is that what you?
No, it's not really feasible to, sir. We have to respond to a call out in about a 10-minute window. So our guys wouldn't be able to get to the Lagoon generators in time. So it would have to be 1st quarter 2022.
We should point out that that is a possibility still. There is some money left in the budget if we needed to. So we'll work that out between us and the program. But our intention is to start in 2022.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Councillor Brune.
Is there a lag time when you start up the generators and shut off the power? Is there a lag time there where the unit goes down for a bit, or?
Where the plant goes down for a bit?
Yeah, when you go to start up the generators, do things shut down for a brief minute?
No, it's almost instantaneous. As soon as the power clicks off, the generator kicks in, we're getting power right away.
So there's no issue or wear on machines that?
No, we do that all the time. We have to test that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Councillor Garner.
Sounds like a win-win situation to me anyway, and this time I'm prepared to make a motion.
Sure.
The council directs administration to enroll into the Alberta Electric System Operator Reserve Program for a 5-year term.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item 6.5, solar PV system, area to Lagoon site. Mr. Tebow.
We're going to ask Blake to stay right here. He's going
All
to
right,
present on
thank
this
you,
one as
Blake.
well.
Yeah.
And I think maybe this one has the go-to meeting, folks.
Yes. We're going to have Peter Gertson from MPE Engineering and Mikhail, the last name's a bit of a doozy, Mikhail Ivanovich from Dandelion Renewables on the line.
All right, thank you.
You're on the line? Yeah, they're both on there. Okay. So a little background on this initiative here. Council was engaged by Teralta Inc. on April 12th, 2021 during a regular council meeting with various proposals for solar projects. Council directed administration to review those proposals on actual costs and cost savings and report back to council. So we did reach out to Teralta and they declined to send their designs to us, or they intended to, but they never did. So basically, Gary and myself, along with MPE Engineering, reviewed the Arena Curling Rink Auditorium pool site and recommended not moving forward with adding solar generation system to those roofs. Basically for 3 reasons. A structural study would be required for each roof to determine if the roofs can handle the additional load. Tabor recently completed a secondary gas line project on the roofs of the auditorium, the curling rink, and the arenas. So there's significant infrastructure up there. And then the main point is these roof membranes on each building are minimum 5+ years apart in age. So future roof replacement work would require significant coordination to take down, dismantle, and reinstall sections of solar system. If the roof itself was if the roof membrane had been all installed in the same year or been replaced, then it would be viable at that time. But it doesn't appear to be viable at this time. So suitable sites for solar. So administration reviewed all of our 2020 power consumption on all Tabor-owned facilities. The top facilities were earmarked and shortlisted for further review for suitability for solar. So as you guys can see, our treatment facilities are our primary power consumers. You have the community center there, Aquafun, and then rounding it out is the irrigation pump house, irrigation pivot pump house, I should say. So taking a closer look at our treatment facilities, the water treatment plant, there's 2 open fields there with adequate space for solar generation. It's a suitable site. Wastewater irrigation and aeration building. There is sufficient space in the field south of the pump station for the irrigation fields and aeration building. Wastewater treatment plant, there is adequate space. However, the topography of the land does not bode well for solar generation, and the slope of the fields do not face south. And the community center, Aquafun Center, Gary had suggested looking into the space between the golf course and the rail tracks, kind of in between the pathway. But again, it's too narrow for a solar system to be viable. So this is this would be the option B, or our second option moving forward is the water treatment plant site. There's 2 open fields, one east and then one south of the treatment facility. So it has some benefits. It's close proximity. There is a reservoir just east of the treatment facility. You can kind of see it outlined in the circle there. So we would have to do a structural assessment to confirm that it can handle the loading. And then with the old compost site area, we would have to look at the stormwater in there because it is a low point and it has flooded in the past. So this would be, administration would recommend this as a second location for a future solar site. So narrowing it down here, the most suitable and preferred site by administration right now would be the aeration building and wastewater irrigation pump house. It's generally flat, prairie, owned by Tabor. It's close proximity to both facilities. It's free and open and free of obstructions. It's secured with existing fencing. There's minimal risk of disturbance. And currently Fortis has a transformer down there large enough to handle a solar PV system. So administration would recommend at this time moving forward by issuing a solar request for proposal to develop, permit, construct, and commission a 1 megawatt ground-mounted solar farm. In consultation with MP Engineering and Dandelion Renewables, we put together a preliminary design for you guys to have a look at today. The site footprint is 6 acres. It's a ground-mounted array facing south at 30 degrees. There would be approximately 2,700 solar modules, and the design capacity would be 900 kilowatt AC. The yearly power generation would be 1,700 and change megawatt hours, but essentially that would offset 110% of the power consumption of both the irrigation pump house and the aerated lagoons. So that's just a rough outline of what the footprint could look like there. I mean, there's room to move it and change it, but that's just a preliminary layout for you guys. So this is an order of magnitude cost estimate prepared by Dandelion Renewables, confirmed by another solar contractor, but basically the unit price would be close to $1.48 per watt. There would be some transformer pad and load reconnections, and then we would also recommend upgrading the Fortis transformer to a 1 megawatt. It's currently a 750 kilowatt. That would cost $30,000, and that price was provided by Fortis Alberta. The total project cost at this time would be about $1.973 million. So funding and rebates. So through the Municipal Climate Action Center, there is the Alberta Municipal Solar Program. They provide a rebate of 55 cents per watt, and first-time applicants receive an additional 25 cents per watt. So our total rebate for the project would be 80 cents a watt, or roughly $840,000. So out of a $1.9 million project, the Alberta government would be kicking in $840,000. So after the funding, the town's contribution would be $1.1 million, roughly. Now, it's tricky here. It's not like a normal grant application where council has to commit the funding and have a solar contractor in place when we go to ask for funding. So it's a little bit backwards the way normal grant funding works. So if you're a little bit confused on why we have to go this route, that's why. So the energy savings, it is based on the amount of energy that we can offset for the aeration building and wastewater irrigation pump house. So the energy savings is based on 2021 energy rates from September. So basically year one, we're saving about $33,000. That's after debenture payments, interest, insurance, and operation and maintenance costs. Full payback of the debenture, or simple payback terms, is 15 years to pay it off. And then year 21, we would set aside some money for key component replacements, but basically Tabor would generate roughly $3.1 million from year 16 to year 30 for this project. So there I just provided you guys the financial model for it. You'll see the first 15 years, the energy savings are quite small, but once you get into that year 16 to year 30 is where you're really starting to see the energy savings. And the way we view it is year 16 to year 30, you're going to save enough money basically that come year 31, if you have to replace the whole system, you can do that and you already have the capital set aside. Where you're really going to save the money is when you go and install the next solar system, because you're going to have the upfront costs covered and you're going to be making that money or saving in that energy cost for the next 30 years. So solar PV system warranties, this is industry standards now, 30 years on PV modules, 10 years on inverters. So we did include inverter replacement at year 22, and the systems these days carry about a 30-year life cycle with regular maintenance. So engineering fees, with this RFD, we have $50,000 that we would like to set aside from capital reserves to fund the engineering services, and this is a list of the things that would fund: geotechnical report, environmental assessment. This would facilitate the RFP, review proposals, review the shop drawings, biweekly construction meetings. Basically, all the engineering we would need to get this project from start to finish. Roughly be about $50,000. So next steps, if council would like to proceed with this project, at this time, they would add the aerated lagoon site to the 2022 capital budget. And council would agree to fund the engineering for the project for the amount of $50,000 to come from capital reserves. And then there would be your next steps: issue the RFP, apply for the grant. And the key takeaway from this is that administration would bring back the RFP results, the amount of rebate funding that we would get, and the revised total project cost for final approval from council. So this basically kickstarts the engineering side. We can get a preferred contractor, and we bring everything back to council again for a final decision. So if project costs are extreme, or there's some sort of caveat, or there's something that we didn't really foresee, this isn't to approve everything. This is just to kickstart the project. So the reasoning why we're here with you guys today is because grant funding is limited. There's the grant administrators have indicated there's enough money left for a project this size or smaller projects. So if we do want to pursue this, now would be the time to do so. So it's the urgency there. We'll open it up for questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Blake,
Yep.
you've got energy savings from year one, 33,000, then going upward, of course.
Yes, sir.
Have you got a built-in rider there for increased costs of power if we would not proceed with this? Like, power costs are not static, right? They go up.
There is I believe is a 3% escalation cost in that cost estimate there.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, thank you. Councillor Chavez.
Yes, Your Worship, I actually have two questions for Mr. Hanek.
Yep.
The first one is, you said that Terralta didn't get back to you about this proposal. That kind of surprised me because, of course, they made a presentation and we went and looked at the Raymond site and whatnot. So I'm kind of wondering what kind of follow-up you did with Terralta on that.
Yeah, so I sent them an email follow-up kind of introducing myself, saying, hey, this is council's direction to look at your guys' proposal. Can you please send it to me? I did receive a phone call from the gentleman that presented, Patrick, or I'm not sure his name, but basically he said he was going to prepare it and send it over to us. He never did. I had another follow-up conversation with him regarding this project, asking him to look at our financial numbers, vet it, see what he thinks. And his comments were he thought that this project was the most suitable project for Tabor to pursue. We had the best rate of return, so on and so forth, but they didn't formally send us any of their designs, so.
Okay, so that's good, thank you.
Yeah.
Second question is was the landfill area there brought into any discussions about putting a solar system out there?
So with the landfill area down there, the key drivers for this is we want to do a microgeneration, which offsets facility consumption. Down at the landfill, there's not a lot of consumption down there besides the transfer station, a few lights, the building itself. So if you were trying to sell back to the grid, you could do that under a different program. But if you want to do microgeneration, which is what Tabor was after, then you would have to tie it into a facility that consumes amount of power consumption. Yep.
All right, thank you. Any other questions arising? Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to have a comment from Mr. Chair regarding this project, please.
Mr. Chair?
It looks like a very successful project. We're going to generate revenue in the future, forecasted for 30 years. I just want to point out too that we had a few projects come in under budget this year. The UV lighting was 126,000 below project for the estimate. 56th Avenue is 100,000 below estimate. So there is money there if you choose to move forward with the capital expenditure, that's for sure. So we'll just wait for a council's decision.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Councillor Strauss?
Yes, just perhaps a question for Mr. Chair. Is there not still money left in our green fund? Would this not qualify to go into our green fund?
I don't think there's a green fund anymore, Mr. Orwell.
So the green fund, remember, if you recall, we used to put about 7.5% in, and it was discontinued. We no longer put 7.5% in.
But is there anything in the green fund?
We do have some little left, of course.
Would you have any idea how much is there? I mean, could this be funded out of what's left out of that green fund? Because this, I would imagine, would qualify for that scenario.
I think we should be having enough to cover the 50,000.
All right, thank you. Councillor Garner?
Yes. It's a very intriguing project.
Yeah.
I think as long as there's humans living in Tabor, we're going to need a wastewater treatment plant, and it's going to need electricity.
Yeah.
Based on that, I see no problem why we wouldn't move forward with this project. And at this time, I'm prepared to make the recommended motion. The council directs administration to add the aerated lagoon site solar PV system to the 2022 capital budget, and council agrees to fund engineering services for aerated lagoon site solar PV system project in the amount of $50,000 with funds to come from the capital reserves.
All right, thank you. Councillor Strauss?
Your worship, a friendly amendment, could you put in there from the green fund?
I would accept that.
All right, thank you. Just, I think, Mr. Chair, you had a concern with some of the content there, possibly?
Councilor Gardner said 2022. We're asking for 2021 capital.
Okay.
So we can get going on it right away.
Okay.
Oh, I see, all right.
Yeah.
That's
So
all.
someone else
my
give that,
mistake.
someone else give that friendly amendment to change to 2021? Councillor
Your
Strauss?
worship, I'll make that friendly amendment for the 2021.
Councillor Garner,
plus
accept
the
that?
green fund.
I accept that.
All right, thank you. Just a clarification question. This does align with our initial initiative after the Raymond Solar visit, correct? With looking to deal with something solar,
No,
energy-wise?
This totally lines right up with it.
Exactly.
It's the
Okay.
right location for you to get the best return on your investment.
All right, thank you, appreciate that. All right, we do have a motion on the table, friendly amendments by 2. Motion on the table, any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously, okay, thank you. On to item 6.6, proposed Chief Administrator Office Performance Evaluation Policy, Mr. Thibault.
So my knowledge around this isn't extensive, so I'm going to ask Ms. Carrie Van Ham to speak to it. It looks like there's some history around it, and that something was carried to put forward an evaluation type structure.
Right, thank you. Mr. Scheer, Mr. Orwa? Either one or both?
So we brought this before for council to approve, and this is what you approve for the CAO evaluation. It's pretty self-explanatory. You have to go out and get some explanation, some research from directors, input from directors, things like that. So it's a total involvement of staff and council in the CAO evaluation.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Councillor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've read through this and I do appreciate the comprehensiveness of this policy. I just had a question for Mr. Tebow. I don't want to put you on the spot, but since this is a performance evaluation for your role, is there anything that you see as problematic or things that you would wish to be changed?
So I've read through it with the help of Ms. Carrie Van Dam. I see no concerns. It actually looks like a nice process. Council, the 3 council members and the CEO sit down and actually build that evaluation template. So I think that's a nice option to have as a CEO. It gets agreed to all at the beginning, and then you can follow those steps through all the way to the end. So I don't see any concerns with this process.
All right, thank you. Any other questions arising? Councillor Beckering?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Prepared to make a motion.
All right,
I move that council adopts the Chief Administrative Officer Performance Evaluation Policy C-13 as presented.
all right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Councillor Bruin?
Just reading item number 5 here. The Chief Administration Officer Performance Evaluation Committee, which is comprised of the mayor and 2 members of council appointed each council term. So I'm assuming that means that when the new council is formed, 2 members are picked, and they last the whole term? Or do we going to switch that off yearly when we do our other?
All right, good question, Councillor Bruin. Mr. Scheer, Mr. Tebow, or Mr. Roy, any comments on that?
Would be open to either. The same members can form that, or you could have members change out each year if there was some reason why someone wanted to do that. I think it's flexible enough that you could keep the same, which would probably be helpful for performance recollection for history. But that being said, it's up to council if they'd like to, up to the speaker.
All right, thank you. Any other comments, questions? Councillor Bruin?
I thought perhaps maybe a revolving council appointment, always have one on, but replace the other one the next year, and then do a rotation of them so that if you have one council member that doesn't get along with the CEO for some reason, he can't always be the one that's doing the evaluation.
I think that's a fair statement, Councillor Bruin, but I think if this is adopted myself as mayor, I go over any potential change with all council members for anything, any appointment every given year. We do that already, is what I'm saying. So I understand your point, and I agree with that, but I think that can be covered under our usual format at the current stage there, actually, Councillor Bruin.
Okay, thank you. It's just a question to see if anyone else thought of that.
All right, thank you. All right, we do have a motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Great, thank you. Item 6.7, information for council. Mr. Tebow.
There's nothing that administration has to put forward for this. There's no information that I need to share that's different from anything historical. So it's up to council to bring forward anything.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? All right, so I'm prepared to make that motion. Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council accepts the material received in this agenda item as information.
Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item 6.8, standing item, council requests. Mr. Tebow.
Sorry, just catching up. There's still the one outstanding request that we've checked with Mr. Shear, and I believe they're still in progress for looking at some pricing that was requested for the downtown red brick.
All right, thank you. Any other standing item council requests? Councillor Bruin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I, as well as probably everyone else, even candidates running, probably received an email from residents along 56th Avenue complaining about weeds. I honestly thought
Mr. Bruin, could you turn your mic on, please?
I'm sorry. I, as long as other councillors and candidates who are running for this election, may have received an email from concerned residents along 56th Avenue, concerned about the unsightly grounds there, the weeds. I responded saying that I thought it had been looked after. I wasn't aware that there were still problems there, but I told them that I would bring it to council's attention, that they are still not happy.
All right, thank you. Mr. Shear, I believe you've had some involvement with that in the past, or Mr. Lahiji, one or the other, or both?
So this pertains to the developer's lands. A lot of it has been cut. The residents would like the higher area cut. But that we left that up to enforcement to engage the residents, and we went out there on site, and they seemed happy with the proposals and everything else. So I don't know where this is coming from, but it should go back to enforcement to look into this, I would think.
All right, thank you.
So it would be something that they should be talking to enforcement about.
Yes.
Okay, because it is on their plate, right? They're supposed to be enforcing weeds.
That I can't speak for Tabor Police Services. That would be up to them.
We're under the Tabor bylaw, actually, but yeah, that's correct.
Community services, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just to clarify, Councilor, you're saying something recent has came to your attention?
Yes, actually, it was
Okay.
on Saturday, I believe, the email came out.
Okay, I have not seen that myself. I have seen something in the last 6-8 weeks, maybe, that came up?
Yeah, there were issues, and
Yeah.
we clarified, and we got them cut.
Right.
But unless they haven't come up with a new drawing or what they proposed, I don't know what the issue is.
Yeah, okay.
Now you're aware, they sent another email out saying they're not happy.
All right, thank you. Any other standing item council requests? All right, with that, there are no delegations. Any media inquiries?
We've been made aware of no media inquiries.
No media inquiries. All right, thank you. With that, I will just ask for a motion to move into closed session then, please. Councilor Becker?
Mr. Mayor, also move.
Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you.